Hello, I'm so excited you stopped by to take a look at my planning template. I created this template last year during my planning process because I wanted to focus not just on goals and objectives, but I wanted to make sure that they were grounded in kind of the bigger picture of what I wanted for my life. And so I created this particular template. So before we get into the details of the template, for those of you who aren't familiar with Trello, this template is set up in Trello. And to use it, you'll need to download Trello. Trello is a free and absolutely fabulous project management kind of organizational tool. It's cloud-based, so you can have it on your desktop and all your devices, and it'll always be synced in with you anywhere you are. So I use Trello for so many different things. I love it. So I think you'll get a lot of value out of it. So anyway, this is set up with Trello. And if you're not familiar with Trello, the way it works, just real quickly, is it works off of each file is a board. So this is a board, the 2020 Personal Planning Board. And on this board, there are lists, which are these columns you see. And I have some more over here. There's a few more. Yeah. And then within a list, there are cards. And the cards are where the details are, right? So here's an example of a card. You can add pictures, detail, descriptions, notes. You can add checklists, which is really, really helpful. You can assign due dates. You can have file attachments. There's a lot of things you can use them for. These are very simple because I just have basically a blank template here, but that's the organization system within Trello. And so within my planning template, I have a few lists for planning and a few lists to walk you through some execution tools to help you make sure you execute your goals and objectives for the year. And then I have 3 lists for the reflection process. So we're going to move from left to right, but you can see at the top of each list I have a card, the card with the picture, and that has kind of the basic instructions or kind of my thought process of how I set this planning template up. So you may not want to do it this way, you may want to use parts of it, or you may just love it. But either way, it kind of gives you some ideas to get you started for your planning this year. So I'm just going to walk you through it real quickly. So on the first list we have is top 5 intentions. And again, this is where I decided that I wanted to look at what are the big intentions in my life and how do I want to live my life within those intentions, ultimately, like the big picture. And I decided to break out these intentions into categories, 5 categories basically, kind of big buckets, right? So I have, you'll see here, financial freedom, spiritual, mission-driven, relationships, physical health, and mental health mindset. Now, you may not want this many, you may want more, whatever works for you, but these are basically the 5 big buckets that I had. Then in the next list, my vision 12 months from now. So here's the big picture, the big intentions of your life. Then we go to the next list and we drill down a little bit deeper into the next 12 months. So with each of these intentions in mind, what is your vision for how you want to live them out over the next 12 months, right? Because maybe some of these intentions are really, really big things you want to do. And what we're looking at here is what does that look like in the next over the next 12 months? And I have an example here where for one of my intentions is physical health. Yeah, what I want for my physical health. And my 12-month vision is that I eat mostly vegan, alcohol-free diet, and exercise 4 to 5 times a week. I'm stronger, leaner, and have all the energy I need. Okay, so this is not a goal and objective. It's not specific, measurable, time-bound, all those things you would expect for a goal or objective. It's just a statement of how I want to feel or how I want to live out my intentions over the next 12 months. Okay, and so I have one for each of the 5 intentions. And see, I label them like A through E so I can keep them aligned throughout this particular board. That's kind of the logic there. So within each of these, I have 2 questions that I offer that you might want to consider as you think about the 12 months. The first is, so for financial, So let's say my financial 12-month goal is I want to realize X amount of revenue, or find investment properties, get a new job, whatever the case may be, right? So whatever that financial goal is, I would ask myself, to achieve this goal, I will have to stop doing these things. So what are the things that I need to stop doing if I want to achieve this goal? And then conversely, to achieve this goal, I will have to start doing these things. What do I need to start in order to achieve this particular, live out this particular intention? So I have those 2 questions set up for each of the cards. Okay. So then the last part of our planning phase is where we dive deeper from the 12-month goals into, or the 12-month vision to the 12-month goals and objectives. So what are the specific measurable things that you want to accomplish over the next 12 months? And I would recommend that you keep this to no more than 7 objectives. It's just really hard to do a lot of things well in a given year. On January 1st, it sounds possible, but then life happens. So I would focus on quality and not quantity. So I have 7, and you can see if we look at, I had financial as one of my intentions, and I have two goals, specific goals for financial for 2020, and then 1 for spiritual, 1 for relationships, 2 for physical, and 1 for mental. So I kind of align them here. And when you set those goals, and these are the measurable ones, I also included a checklist of a couple of questions to ask for each of your goals. So for this one, this is a financial goal. Let's say it's gain X number of new clients for a pilot program, delivering X in revenue, for example. I would ask myself first, how can I break this goal into smaller actionable activities? So it's a pretty big goal, so what do I do to break it down? So for example, if one of your goals might be to write a book, that's a really big goal. So you would need to think about, how can I break that down into smaller, more actionable activities, right? Then the second question is, what habits will I have to have? What will I need to do every day, every week to achieve this goal? So to set yourself up for success so that you can keep going kind of after the momentum or the motivation has worn off, the habits can really, really help. So I add that section in each of the goals and objectives, and think about what kind of habit do I need to achieve my goal. So let's use the example of writing a book. So to write a book, the habit might be, I write every day for an hour first thing when I wake up, or whatever the goal is, or whatever the habit is. It should be something consistently done that you do same time, that sort of thing, just so it becomes a habit, right? And it helps propel you forward. So those are the annual goals and objectives. And a lot of times that's where we stop, right, in the planning process. But I like to take it a little bit further and talk about what are some of the execution tools you can use to help you reach your goals as well. And I talked a little bit about this just a second ago with habits, but I would recommend, as you look at what kind of habits you need, that you focus on only 1 or 2 at a time. Again, you can be overwhelmed if you try to do too much. But if you click on this card, I just wanted to point it out. I have included some valuable information I think you'll appreciate. One is, if you're really interested in habits, I highly, highly recommend James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. It's one of the best books I've read on habits. He talks not only about how important they are, but how to form them, how to break them, and how to just identify yourself as a person who lives out your habits. So it's a really good book. It inspired me, in fact, to write a few blog posts on the concepts in the book, and I've included links to those blog posts as well. The second execution tool is the 12-week plan. So, you have your annual plan, but that's a big chunk of time, right? So we need to break it down into, I like to break it down into 90-day detailed plans. And so I've included a link to the 12-week plan document that I use. I think it's an Excel spreadsheet, or there's a PDF, yeah. But basically, it's just a simple way, at a glance, have a view of what you're wanting to do over the next 12 weeks. And then the next column list is monthly and that's where you can break everything down into what happens every month. It's also a great place for your recurring things you don't want to forget about. Maybe something happens in February that you find out, oh, I have to go do something in May. Well, you can write that on your May card here, so you can make sure that you don't forget it. And what's great about Trello, like I said before, is that this can be on your phone, so you can carry it with you. So it's easy to record things as they happen so that you don't forget. And what I have a card for each month, and then I've added checklists so that you have one for each week of that month. So if you wanted to get that detailed, you could. All right. And then the last part of execution is the study plan. This is really important for me because I'm always having to learn new skills, and just, having your own business, there's so much that you can learn to do and need to learn to do. So I set out a study plan so I can be strategic about, okay, these are the goals and objectives I've set, but what are the skill gaps or the things I need to learn, training, etc. What do I need to do to be able to achieve those goals? So that's where we have a study plan. So that's the execution piece to this template. And then lastly, these 3 lists are what I call the reflection process. So I have one card for every month in this list to record, just review the month after it happened, right? What mistakes did I make? What went well? What memories did we create as a family? Just all those things that you want to capture, you think you'll remember, and sometimes you don't, right? So I think, as the saying goes, we don't learn from our experience, we learn from reflecting on our experience. So this is just a good way to do that. The next list is where you can capture your lessons learned from reading, podcast, training, just whatever sort of input you have into development. We can capture those ideas, because a lot of times I'll read a book, or I'll listen to a book, and I'll think about, wow, there's a great concept, I want to apply it at some point, and if I don't capture it somewhere, it can be gone. So this is just a good place to do that. And then the last list, this is really one of my favorites, is the accomplishments. I think it's really, really important to have a visible account of all the things that you've done throughout the year, because like if I have a bad day, I like to come back and say, okay, I had a bad day today, but look at all the things that I've done. And it's also great in preparation for performance reviews. You start out, you think you're going to remember everything, or if you ever sit down to prepare for a performance review with your manager, you'd be surprised at how much you forget that you've done throughout the year. So this is just a good place to capture it all. So that is a very, very quick look at how I do my planning and how I support it with some execution tools and also some reflection tools. So I hope you find this helpful. And if you think it's something that you might want to use or modify, you just like to play around with, be sure you click on the download on this, just on the bottom of this blog post, and I will send you a link to all the information you need to copy it. So I hope you found some value in this, and I wish you the best in the coming year.